it's not really in the cap, so to speak. So I think there's too many teams that would maybe be willing to work around that in order to gain an advantage, which is the problem.
I mean, we used to have one in the league, and it didn't work because teams found jobs for wives and girlfriends and second employees under different names and such like. So I think it would require a level of honesty and possibly an independent accountant, which would obviously cost money. But I think it's not unfeasible to be done here. Unlike, I don't think, say, something you mentioned was a draft system. We couldn't implement a draft. No, there's no way that would work here in the UK. But just coming back to one of the points that you just made, you said that you're quite a hockey purist and you like the playoffs and sort of driving towards that.
I like the way it's done in North America, yeah. Where everybody's got an even playing field and it's down to the coach and the GM, to make the team better, to make the team more attractive. Whereas the way I feel it is just now in the UK, it's before the season starts, it's kind of like football, which I don't have a great deal of interest for that reason, especially up here. You kind of know where the trophies are going before the season started, really.
I'm going to come at it from a different side. I think we should use the fact that the league system is the league is the big trophy here in the UK as our unique selling point to players and the hockey community around the rest of the world. Come here, come and play. Every game counts. You've got to play playoff hockey night in, night out for 6-7 months if you want to win a trophy. If you look at how the league has been settled over the past 3-4 years, it's been down to a matter of 1-2 games. This year Cardiff won by about 6-7. I can't remember the exact number of points. It's a handful of games. And seasons before, when towards you were at the top, it was a couple of points. Cardiff, a few years ago, Cardiff lost it on goal different, or on goals scored. So that should be the marketing strategy. It's like every game counts, every night. Doesn't matter who you are, who's playing. That's where the difference is, and I think that's something that we don't do. And I'm all for keeping the league as the big trophy, and I like there is obviously financial reasons for having the playoff weekend, which kind of limits the effectiveness of the playoffs, but. I'm not afraid of being different and doing things differently, and I don't think the league should be either. So,
see, to me though, that's where I was always, from the minute we found out we were going to have 12 teams, I always thought this was the way to go, to put the 4 bigger budget teams in the one group, and have it the way it actually has worked out. Jennifer, I just feel that if Stuart's right in saying the league has been exciting, but to me, to help. You take a team like Dundee, when the year they had Dan Bacala in goals, the conference system could have helped propel them up the league, and they had something that year to help build their support up and give them something to be excited about. You need to remember, Jennifer, that year we were close to winning the league was a year that we'll probably not forget for a long time, and it led on to the Clan having a chance to play in Europe. I would just like to see likes of Coventry have a good year next year, even Guildford, if they come into the league flying, if Fife, get their act together and dominate us the way we dominated them this year, they could be sitting up third, second, maybe having a go. And that's where I think the conference system has got to come in, Jennifer. Or do you think that's just a false thing? No. If they had won it that year, do you think, you'd be cries of, but they're not the best team?
Well, I don't really know if the conference is the biggest thing to be kind of worrying over. For me personally, it was some teams running 4 lines and some teams running 3 lines that, for me, made the big difference. The teams that were able to run the full 4 lines, you only have to look at the semi-final between Cardiff and was it Sheffield and Dundee? Where Dundee basically ran out of steam at the end. So I would tend to...
No, it was Cardiff. Yeah.
Sorry, was it Cardiff? Yeah. I would tend to say the fact that the way that the league structure is going to be, you're kind of limiting teams to play 3-line hockey unless they're actually investing in their under 23s, and I think that will actually probably make more of a difference than the changes to the conferences.
So that's a kind of another thing we could get into as well. But Fife were always going on about how they develop the young talent and they want to go with the local guys, which is fine. But all they ever do is stick them on the bench. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
You need to play them. You need to play the guys. You can't just have them sitting on the bench. And obviously the change to the number of Brits that you have, I think that will make more of a difference.
I was kind of just more talking about the conference and being that sort of salary cap, the kind of leveler, if you know what I mean, that kind of gives the teams from the other 8 teams that are not in the Arena Conference at the moment the chance to actually get a competitive season together. As I said earlier on, I think if you're Edinburgh and your best hope is to finish 8th and get knocked out in the quarter-finals probably in the first round because you've just finished 8th and you're going to get Cardiff or Sheffield probably, then it's kind of hard to sell that. Whereas if you can, like us, if you could have a season where you're going to maybe be up there in the top 3 because you've managed to put a good team together, then I think that gives other teams something to shout at. And I think one of the things that the Scottish teams that were complaining about that system is that's one of the things that they were saying, you know, what are we playing for here? Because as I say, the gap seems to have been got, as you say, Stuart, it's pretty easy to tell when you just look at the squads. And it was strange, some of the Clan fans that tweeted into us, Stuart Priest said it's going to be a boring conference. It's just going to be virtually the same as last year with less games, but we've got 2 new teams to play. You're going to see Nottingham and Sheffield an extra game at home as well. Costa Glove, he says, and he's not beating about the bush, utter crap. No away trips for conference games for him. He wouldn't be putting any money into Fife, Dundee or Edinburgh. Challenge Cup, still pointless, scrap it. I don't know, it's been a wee bit, I don't know, a bit of OTT for me there.
The glass is half empty there.
Yeah, the Challenge Cup, I thought they could maybe have went down the 4 groups of 3, to be honest, just so there'd be even less Challenge Cup games, but that's the way they've went.
I think they've missed a trick by not doing some sort of draw.
But then you spoke about that, and it's a fantastic idea, and there's loads of fantastic ideas. Jennifer, you would want to do a draw every year for the Challenge Cup for 4 groups of 3.
Make it completely random, completely different, and it just makes it a bit more exciting. Yeah,
because you never know who you're going to get, and then it could open up a road for maybe one of the smaller teams find it a wee bit easier to get to the final. I don't know. The way the Challenge Cup group, we've got Nottingham and Sheffield, so you know we'll be doing well to come out of that group for the Challenge Cup. Maureen Murray, how to make the Scottish fans bored with the game, how will the Clan improve playing weaker teams all the time? See, I don't buy all this weaker teams nonsense. We had a good run in the conference this year in terms of beating Fife. Fife, we were 9-1, I think, in the league. The last one we lost was the last game where it had already been wrapped up. But Edinburgh and Dundee knocked us out. How are they weaker teams, you know? I think a lot of, Stuart, I mean, I don't know how it looks from south of the border, but I think a lot of Clan fans, that year we did finish second, it also gave them all a kind of sense of, not superiority is not the word. I think they thought we were a bigger side and a bigger budget team than we actually are that year. Yeah. And as Ryan said, everything just fell together. They had virtually no injuries. They had a few suspensions towards the end of the season that badly affected them. But generally speaking, they were a healthy team that gelled and they recruited well. I just think sometimes Clan fans up here have got a wee bit of a distorted view of where we sit in this league. What does it look like from down there?
Yeah, I'd certainly agree. I don't understand the negativity about the change in schedule from a Braehead perspective, because if you just focus on the league, you're not playing any more games against the Scottish teams this year than you were last year. The number of games is 4 in conference. You've got Dundee, Edinburgh, and Fife. You get them 4 times home, 4 times away. It's exactly the same, and then you add in extra 2 teams that you'll play twice. You don't have to play Manchester those 4 times. You'll get the extra variation from Guildford, Milton Keynes. For me, I think every team has a much more interesting schedule. I mean, the Challenge Cup has been divvied up in ways which I think gives financial benefit, or sort of to teams as kind of a make way for the league. Mm-hmm. Some of the teams that have been maybe upset with the league are sort of maybe Braehead not so happy with some of the way that things are, so they get an extra game against Nottingham and Sheffield. Maybe they want to challenge themselves against the bigger teams a bit more, so that's a way of getting themselves up to that level by giving them the extra game. Coventry, yes, we've got an easier schedule now, but we now lose 2 games against Nottingham, who are our closest rivals, probably our biggest away fan following. So that's a bit of a hit. But at the same time, we'll now get an extra game against Cardiff in the Challenge Cup. It's kind of I think there's been a bit of horse trading for the groups.
Yeah,
I agree with Jen. I would much rather see a draw. Let's just get it drawn. It'd be more exciting, like you say.
Different teams every year.
Different teams every year. And if you did go down 4 groups of 3, how great would it if you got like Dundee, Guildford, Milton Keynes in one group, and then you say top 2 of those 3 teams are going to make the quarterfinals, and all of a sudden you're thinking actually these teams have got a chance now. Although I think we keep mentioning about Guildford coming in. And they're one of the new teams. Guildford are going to come and be ready to play. Yeah. I think a lot of people are underestimating them. They're going to be backed. They're going to have a good roster. Milton Keynes have been recruiting for this season for a year and a half. So that neither of these 2 teams are going to be pushovers any more so than the supposedly weaker teams. I mean, it's tough to say weaker teams when you sit in Coventry in 9th place because everybody's been better than you bar Edinburgh this year.
But then that's been skewed though, in the same way as we get slightly skewed. You've been slightly skewed when you suffered for that, like we said at the start. Is there a bit more? And although it's only been a couple of weeks since we found all this out and it's all been settled, has there been a bit more talk about Coventry actually getting a chance to get up there and get into the top 4 because of that?
Yeah, I think in it. A lot of people, and I think the ownership group, they want the Blaze to be challenging at the top of at the top tier of UK hockey. They want to be playing the best teams week in, week out, and we have been doing that, and it's not gone well for the past couple of years. So maybe there's a sort of a need to step back, and there has been there's a good proportion of the fan base who are sort of saying, certainly on forums, on Twitter, social media, etc., saying, actually, this is going to be good for us because we're not going to be playing a difficult schedule. It is going to be a bit easier for us. And that might be able to give us a bit of momentum and confidence because it was, the biggest problem I think we had last year was being able to string wins together. We just, because of the conference and like people taking points off everyone else, left, right and centre, we couldn't string more than 2 wins together. We couldn't build off the back of a 4-point weekend and carry that momentum forward. And it really did start to sort of weigh us down, is because you'd get 2 wins and then you'd lose big on the Saturday night and then you'd perhaps lose on the Sunday. By the time we went for our Scottish weekend in November, the confidence had already been crushed. So the guys went up to Scotland and it was an awful weekend. We got hammered left, right and centre. 15 goals in 3 games or 18 goals in 3 games, and it was brutal. I think there is a lot of the proportion of the fan base, myself included, who think actually, this is going to be good for the club. Give us, I still think it's a short term. It should be a short term solution for the league as a whole. I think we should still try to move towards that panacea of one league of 12. But this is a stepping stone for me on the way of getting there, and it's a way of building the teams up to the arena teams level, just so long that they don't go off in a big arms race by themselves.
Yeah. That's kind of the danger. You think, you read between the lines and you think, are the big 4 just going to try and outspend each other to the point where they'd become unsustainable? Ironically, enough it could be the case. When they're just trying to compete against each other, which again brings it all back down to money doesn't buy you success, but I'd rather be the GM of Sheffield than the GM of Edinburgh, if you like, because let's face it, you get a better chance. As Ryan said, if we're going for a player and Sheffield, Cardiff, Belfast or Nottingham get a sniff of that player and they want him, then he's gone. We can't compete. Yeah. You might be able to compete in the level 2, 3 and 4 guys, but the top guys, if you're anywhere near, and I imagine Coventry's much the same, and we're moaning, but how does it feel when you're spending maybe like Dundee, I would imagine maybe Milton Keynes at the moment will probably be on that level, even if you're in Edinburgh, you've got to be really, really creative, and you've got to be really, really lucky in your recruitment that the guys click. But that for me is what the conferences do. If you're one of the smaller budget teams and you manage to get it all together, you can have a run at it. You might not win it. I still think we'll be hard pushed to get a trophy off of one of the big 4. As the way things stand just now, But to me, the conference just levels it up a wee bit and gives the guys a bit of a shooting chance. Looking Fraser Gray,